speech. This is hosted by Area 23 in coordination with Division B and I. This is a part of District 105. Let me tell you what is the mission of District 105. We have two missions. One is to expand the number of clubs under our wing, and the second mission is to achieve excellence in each and every club under our wings. Now, for those of you who are new to Toastmasters, let me also tell you what is the mission of Toastmasters International as such. Now, Toastmasters International is basically a platform wherein learners can exercise and take pathways and develop their communication skills, leadership skills that will improve their confidence and overall personal growth. Just like all other major institutions, Toastmasters International also has some basic core values and principles. So we have 4 key values. These are respect, integrity, excellence, and service. Now, since today's meeting is on Zoom and it is online, so there are some basic protocol which I would like to share with you as a sergeant at arms of this workshop this evening. First of all, kindly keep your phone silenced and notifications off so that you can have maximum benefit from the workshop. Also, if you are not speaking, kindly keep your microphone muted. And thirdly, since it is a workshop where there will be a presentation, the timer, the timekeeper, and the presenter would be having their videos on, and you may choose to put the video off. It's optional. So with that, now I welcome our very enthusiastic and enterprising Area 23 District Assistant Director for me to give the welcome address. Thank you. Over to you, Fami.
Thank you, Toastmaster Surya, for a warm welcome as the SA for this wonderful evening. International Speech Contest, your ticket to the world stage. Your way, your first step to the 7.5 minutes of glory on that stage where every single person is hearing from you, is being part of your story and getting inspired from you. Kudos to each one of you who have decided to be part of this wonderful evening. Let me put it this way. Good evening, future world champions of District 105. A warm welcome to each one of you to this wonderful evening international speech workshop organized by Division B and Division I under guidance from Toastmaster Leadership Institute in coordination with, or rather hosted by Area 23. Once again, welcoming each one of you to this wonderful stage. We have among us a few dignitaries. I would like to welcome the leaders from Toastmaster Leaders International, DTM Vinod Panika. Can I have a round of applause or a sitting ovation? And Toastmaster Samir GP. I would like to welcome our distinguished Toastmaster Achita Shivam, who's the Division Director for Division B, and our dearest enchanting DTM Dr. Abdul Sattar, Division I Director, to this wonderful evening. It gives me great pleasure to see each one of you being present here to be part of this first step in your journey to become that world champion whom we all look up to. It should be District 105 that creates the next world champion. So are you ready? Before that, we will be leaving a Google link for you to fill in the registration and details and put in your feedback so that we can do better. Let me I reiterate that this is hosted by Area 23, and we have a team comprising of Toastmaster Najla, our VPPR, and Toastmaster Manish, who was the area secretary, and myself, Toastmaster Femi Mohammed, who is a stand-in for who is the area PQD for Area 23, who is a stand-in for our wonderful area director, Toastmaster Ram today. So with that, let me welcome one and all once again who have made it to this particular session. Looking forward to a wonderful workshop, taking that first step towards International Speech Contest. In order to take you through, in order to handhold you through the entire process today, we have amongst us an enchanting, charming sweetheart of UAE Ladies Toastmasters Club and a proud UAE national, Toastmaster Nasreen Al Janahi, as the MC for today. Over to you, Toastmaster Nasreen. All yours.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Femi, for the beautiful introduction. I am humbled. Thank you so much. And good evening, everyone. I can't see everybody turning on their mics, but I hope I could see you. Can you wave or just share beautiful smile so I can see that you are all available and ready for this amazing night? Very nice. So good evening once again, one and all, and a very special welcome to you again, DTM Nisha. I am Nasreen Al Janahi, Vice President of Education at the UAE Ladies Toastmaster Club. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I would say tonight, not today, because it's almost nighttime in the UAE. And please allow me to introduce DTM Nisha. Now, she wears multiple hats and she is a charming lady just like me. DTM Nisha Shivram, she has been an active Toastmaster since 2007. She is the past president of Talking Matters Toastmaster Club. She is the past Division E PR officer, past Assistant Division Director of Education, past Club Growth Director for Division B, and currently she is Division C Program Quality Director. DTM Nisha is 8 times Division Champion in international. Yes, that's right. It's 8 times, and not to be left behind, 7 times division champion in evaluation. That's amazing. DTM Nisha also holds District Champion International Speech Award for year 2019, 2020, and 2021. And not to be left behind, she is also the District Champion for Evaluation Speech Contest in 2017 and 2019. Well, we are not done yet. There is more. DTM Nisha is the first runner-up for regional quarterfinals of World Championship of Public Speaking in 2019, and also the semi-finalist of World Championship of Public Speaking 2021. DTM Nisha also has been one of the finest educational events company. She's running an organization called Speak and Shine, and you can get more insight on her website, www.speakandshine.org. Well, she's also host talk shows. This talk show named Talksopedia. You can find it. You can find more information on the web and on YouTube. Just type in Talksopedia, which is online, and it's hosted every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Most importantly, as a woman, she is a dutiful mother of 2. And her hobbies, as you can guess, she adores reading and photography. Well, that's the power of women. We can do so many things at the same time and raise beautiful and healthy children as well. So it's surely great privilege to have you among us, DTM Nisha, all the way from Qatar. A hearty welcome to you once again from the wonderful Area 23 team and division directors. DTM Ajita and DTM Abdul Sattar are with us, and we look forward to some exciting learning together tonight. So over to you, DTM Nisha.
Beautiful Master of Ceremonies, fellow Toastmasters, and my dear, dear friends, good evening. Now, before I start the session, I want to know how many of you are planning to take part in the speech contest this year? Let me check. Okay, I can see Kamini, Toastmaster Hashim, Toastmaster Kanchana, all right, okay. All right, so there are quite a few. Now, when it comes to contest, okay, what is the first thing that you do when you're preparing for the contest? Or when you decide that, okay, now this year I have to go for the contest, what is the first thing that you do? You may type your answer in the chat box. Okay, Toastmaster Famib says story, all right, okay. Script idea, looking for a mentor, script writing, subject content. Anybody else? Anything else? Subject, purpose, title, very good, title. Write my winning acceptance speech, very good, Toastmaster Hashim, yes. My dear friends, okay. Samir, message, all right. Enroll in speech contest. All right. I'm so happy to see all these answers. The very first thing that you need to do when you decide to take part in the speech contest, be it any speech contest, whether it is international, humorous, table topics, or evaluation, the very first thing you need to understand that it's a contest, right? And like any other contest, whether it is in sports or in speech, there are some rules that you must know. You must learn. So the first thing that you need to do when you decide to take part in the speech contest is to go through, learn, and understand the judging criteria. How many of you do that? And you won't be surprised, or you will be surprised to know that in many of the contests, even now, I have been contesting for the last 10, 11 years. Even now, there are many contestants who do not know the judging criteria properly. They don't know the judge's ballot. And that is why they come up with all these stories, speeches, messages, but they don't understand what exactly the criteria says and where does my speech stand, or does my speech fit the judge's ballot. I had requested the host to circulate the judge's ballot. If you can download it, well and good. If you go through the judge's ballot, you will understand that the entire ballot is divided into 3 parts. First is the content, as many of you said here, content is the subject. Then comes the delivery, that is our presentation, the way we present the speech, and then the language. The total 100 marks is divided in these 3 categories. The content, as everybody says, the content is the king. Content itself carries 50 marks. Now, if you look at the judge's ballot here, it is there on the screen, and I hope everybody can see it. Let us go through the judge's ballot one by one. Let us take content. Content is nothing but the subject we have chosen for the speech contest. And it is not only about the words or the stories, it has got a lot of other things into it. And the content itself is divided into yet another 3 parts. As you can see here, speech development. And speech development is all about the structure of your speech, right? Now, my question to you is a very, very simple question. When you start writing a speech, okay, and listen to me carefully. When you start writing a speech, what is the first thing you start writing? When you have to write a speech, what is the first thing that you write?
Any
What is that
proverb or
first?
quote?
Very good. Okay. Title, introduction, gather information, topic. Okay, let me rephrase it that you already have the topic in mind. Okay, let's say that today we are going to write a speech on weight loss. Okay, ladies happy? Weight loss. So what is the first thing you would start writing with, or you start your speech with? A question to the audience. All right? Quote related to the topic. Okay, quote. Structure. Shocking revelation. All right, okay. Takeaway, purpose, message. Guys, main point of this speech. Fit hai to hit hai. Yes, sir. I will think about the end of the speech. Okay. Exactly. Kanchana said it right. We will start with our personal experiences or the story. You should never ever start writing your speech with the introduction or the quotation or a one liner. No, you need to start writing the story first. Okay, so speech development is all about the structure of the speech, and we all have been hearing this, we all have been doing this, that we try to put our speech in a structure, and the speech structure has got three parts: introduction, main body, and conclusion. When you start writing your speech, forget about the introduction and conclusion. Concentrate on the main body of the speech, and that is where your story would happen. So that is where we need to start our speech with. We need to start with the main body of the speech or the story. Now, the question is, how many stories or how many examples? Ideally, people would tell you 3 examples or 3 stories. I would suggest whatever you are comfortable with. If you have 4 examples, good. If you have 1 story, 1 example, that's fine. But your responsibility as a speaker is to put it in a way that the audience is clear with the story. They understand what is happening in the story properly. And that is all about speech development. How you organize those thoughts in a proper way that when you move from one example to another, the transitions or the change is clear to the audience, the flow is smooth. Now here, there is another thing that we need to learn. When it comes to story, there are a lot of things that we have to take care of, and we call it storytelling elements. Okay, storytelling elements is all about how we make the story interesting. And in order to make our story interesting, and this is what I have learned from my mentor, you can do it. So when you write your story first, it will be just, vague ideas or not very clear ideas that you have put there. But now once you put it there, it's a rough draft, and now you have to develop it to make it more interesting, to make it look structured. So what have you got to do, or what you should be doing? Number one thing you need to see is whether my story has a conflict or not. What is a conflict? Conflict in the literal sense means a fight, a problem, or an argument. But in story writing, conflict means the issues or challenges the main character or the speaker is going through. So make sure that your story has a conflict, and you need to address that conflict or establish that conflict in the very beginning. Now, for example, if I have to give you an example, let's say that today I'm going to talk about my fear of water. Okay, I never wanted to learn swimming because I was scared of water. Now I have established my conflict there. My conflict here is the fear of water, right? That is the challenge that I'm going through. Now, once you establish your conflict, you need to make sure that you give your audience the solution as well. You just cannot leave your audience by saying that, oh, yes, I have a problem and I'm very scared of water. What is the solution? So you need to give them the solution. So my solution in this particular story would be, okay, I went for swimming classes. I hired a swimming coach who taught me how to swim in a better way, or the sum of some tricks, water tricks and all those things. So that would be the solution. Now conflict is there. You gave the solution. Now the audience is waiting for your transformation. They want to know, yes, Nisha was scared of water. Nisha learned, Nisha went for swimming classes. Then what happened? So Nisha has to tell the audience that, yes, I was scared. I joined some swimming classes and today I'm a great swimmer, or I took part in some swimming championships and I won. This is the transformation that happened. So whenever you write a story, make sure that it has a conflict, you provide a solution, and you show the transformation to your audience. In order to make your story even more interesting, you need to have characters in your story. Characters. Now, these characters can be living beings like all of us, or it can be a non-living thing, a doll, a pen, a pencil, from where you got the inspiration to do something. Okay, so make sure that you have characters in your story. The other important thing, when you have characters in the story, you need to describe the character. Even when the speech is over, even when the story is over, your audience must remember that character. Okay, in 2016, I had given this speech on rejection, redirection, and there was this character named Martha. So I had described Martha, saying that Martha was a huge and heavy cafe.
Because she's teaching how to speak. Yeah.
Okay, there are some disturbances. Can I please request everybody to put yourself on mute? Thank you so much. Okay, so I had described Martha, that Martha is a huge and heavy cafe owner, but there was a peculiarity in Martha's voice. She had a nasal voice. So I had given this peculiar voice to Martha, and Martha used to speak like this. Ah, Nisha, ridiculous, rejected again. So this was the way Martha used to speak. Now I did this because to help the audience identify the character from the speaker. So whenever you have characters in the story, make sure you describe the character. You tell the audience how the character looks like, what is the height, the way of dressing, the way of talking, the way of walking. Is there anything peculiar about that character? Now these characters can be positive characters, like somebody who would always tell you that, oh yes, you can do it, go ahead, do that. Or a negative one who would say that, it's not possible, you can't do it, Nisha, right? So all these characters need to have some prominent role in your speech or in your story. Now the next thing that you need to have when you have characters, you need to have some dialogues, okay, to make the story sound conversational, or to make the story even more interesting, to make the characters interesting. When you give dialogues to these characters, the characters become interesting. Sometimes with these dialogues, humor happens in the story. So if you are someone who is looking for humor, you may add some funny dialogues to make the story humorous. Okay, so whenever you have characters, give some dialogues to those characters. Now, the most interesting part, okay? We have conflict, solution, transformation, characters, dialogues. What next? We call it, in story writing, we call it, and I learned from my mentors, to use backwards. And those who are from the NLP background, the neuro-linguistic programming background, they might understand back. We call it backwards. Now, what are backwards? V-A-K. Backwards, V stands for visual. Visual words are those words or descriptive words that would help your audience visualize everything. Okay? When you say that the curtains were red and there was this black sofa with yellow cushions. So when you describe things like that, it would help your audience visualize the entire picture. So you need to use those descriptive visual words in your speech. A stands for auditory, which is related to audio or sound. Okay, so instead of saying that I went there and I knocked on the door, you can say that I went there and tuck, tuck. So just make the sound. So instead of narrating the entire thing, if you can add sounds, okay, it will give an auditory effect. And the third letter is K, kinesthetic words. What does kinesthetic mean? It is all related to feelings and emotions. If you want your audience to feel what you want them to feel, you need to use those kind of kinesthetic words, emotional words. Okay. Now you may ask, why do we have to do that? Can't I just tell my story like that? Let me tell you that if you are presenting your speech in front of, let's say, 100 people, out of those 100 people, 30 people are visual. They love to see images. Okay, these are the people who love to watch movies. Oh, they love images. Some of the people would be auditory. They are into sound. They love listening to music. Okay, and these are the people who, after your speech, would come to you and tell you, wow, great voice modulation. Your pitch was so perfect. Okay, they will talk only about your voice. And another category of people are sensitive, emotional people. They want those heart-touching stories. You need to include those emotional words because you want them to feel what you have felt or what you have gone through. Okay, and this has happened with me a lot of times in initial days when people used to come and say that, oh, Nisha, that was a great speech. Okay, the story was fine. You had a lot of descriptive words, but you know what? It didn't touch my heart. It lacked emotions. And that is when I understood, oh, okay, so I need to add something to make my audience feel what I felt. So all these three categories of words are very, very important, and you must have these in your story. And this is how you would make your story interesting. Okay, so the main body of the K stands for kinesthetic. Kinesthetic, 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 which means feelings or emotions, the words related to feelings and emotions. So this was about the body of the speech where we put the story. Okay, we are still in speech development, guys. Okay, don't get confused. Now, once your story is done, once you develop your story, you need to understand the message clearly. Okay, you should be clear with your message. Based on the message of your story, you will now write the introduction, which is the way you are going to start your speech. Now, the introductions are various types, and many of you have already mentioned all the types here. We can start our speech with a question, okay? Or we can start our speech with a powerful quotation, as somebody said here. We can start our speech with a song or a dance, if you can do that. We can start our speech with a shocking statement, something shocking. Or we can start our speech with a role play wherein we have a dialogue, or we can show as if we are talking to somebody. These are the different ways of starting a speech. And why do we need to have these kind of introductions? Why can't I just simply stand there and say that, hi, my name is Nisha Shivram, and today I'm going to present a speech on my fear of water. The reason being, somebody had very rightly said that, within the moment you open your mouth to speak, the audience would understand whether you will make it or break it as a speaker. Which means if you do not have a powerful introduction, a captivating introduction, you will lose your audience in a minute. Not even in a minute, in a few seconds. And it's important that we get the attention of our audience within those few seconds. And when I say few seconds, make sure in 8 to 10 seconds. That is the attention span of a human mind. If you get their attention within those 10 seconds with this powerful introduction, then there are chances that they would listen to your story. Okay, so make sure that you have an interesting, captivating, attention grabbing introduction. The important point here is whether you use a question, whether you use a quotation, whether you use a dialogue or a role play, whether you use a song or a dance or a shocking statement, make sure that your introduction is either related to the story or to the message of your speech. It should not be that you want to grab the attention of your audience, so you started with something random which has got nothing to do with your speech or the story. Okay, so that is introduction. In the same way, based on the message of your speech, you need to now write the conclusion. Now, conclusion is the most important part of the speech, because conclusion is the part, or conclusion is the time when most of the people in your audience would suddenly wake up, because they would realize that you are now going to end the speech. So you need to make sure that whether they remember the introduction or not, whether they remember the story or not, they must remember the conclusion of your speech, which means you must end with power, with energy, and including or compiling the entire message in your conclusion. So the conclusion should be very, very powerful, because that is where the message lies, and the audience must take that message home. Okay, so always and always end your conclusion with power. Now, when I say with power, I'm not asking you to scream or yell or shout, no, but that energy in you should be very, very visible in your words and the way you present. So this is how we would develop and structure and organize our stories and ideas in a speech. And it should be done in a way that the transition is about changing from one idea to another. The transition from the introduction to the story, from the story to the conclusion, should be very, very clear to the audience, and it should be smooth. Your audience should not get confused that when did he finish the introduction and when did he move to the story. Yeah, so you need to make sure that you move smoothly and the flow is very smooth and clear. So this was all about speech development. Now let's come to the second category in content, is speech effectiveness. How will you measure whether your speech is effective or not? Okay, in order to do that, you must answer a couple of questions here. Okay. You must find an answer to your questions. The number one question is my story interesting enough to hold the attention of the audience from the beginning till the end? Is my speech or story interesting enough to hold the attention of the audience from the beginning till the end? And you have to test that. You can test that in front of your family members or your friends or in your club, and see if people are really interested in your story or not. How do I check the effectiveness of my speech? Now, I have two little kids here, right? My son is 7 and my daughter is 5. And you know the kid's mind, it's monkey mind. So I present my speech or my story in front of them. And if they can sit for 7.5 minutes listening to the story, which means that the story is interesting, I can capture the attention. If a 6.5-year-old or a 7-year-old can sit and listen to the story, a 70-year-old or a 47 or 50-year-old will definitely sit and listen to the story. So this is how you need to check the speech effectiveness. Present that speech in your club or in front of your friends and family and seek honest feedback. Is it interesting? Is my story interesting enough? Ask yourself. The second question that you should be asking in speech effectiveness is my message clear? Sometimes what happens is the message is very, very clear in our minds. Okay, as a speaker, we think, oh, wow, what a great message am I going to share with the audience? But the moment we present the speech and share the message, the audience would come to you and say that, what was the message? I did not get the message. What were you trying to say? So make sure that the message is very, very clear to you and to others as well. Again, to test that, you need to present it in various clubs in front of various people and understand that if they are getting the message the same way you are getting it. If there is a clash, that means you need to make some modifications or changes in the speech. Okay. Now, the third category or the third point in the content category is speech value. Speech value is all about how you have shattered the thought process of your audience. Whether you have shattered the thought process of your audience or not, which means after listening to your speech, will the audience be ready to take an action or do something about their life? So if you talk about how you faced challenges in life and how you fought battles and emerged victorious, you need to see, or you need to get, observe whether the audience, anybody, I'm not saying everybody, but any few people in the audience are ready to take an action to face their own challenges and emerge victorious. So speech value, the value of the speech lies there. How you shatter the thought process of your audience. If your speech can do it, that means you had a great content. Okay, so the content is not only about your subject, it's not only about the topic you have chosen, it is not only about the words you have chosen, it is all about how you have organized those thoughts, how you have kept your audience at the edge of the seat from the beginning till the end, and how you have shattered the thought process of your audience. Now, the next category is all about presentation, delivery, and that carries 30 marks. And again, they have divided into 3 types, which is your body, physical, voice, and mannerism or manner. Physical, as we all know, is all about body language. Okay? And as somebody said, you say a lot when you say nothing at all. We must be aware of the intentional and unintentional body language that we use when we present. So the speech contest or the speech presentation, especially in speech contest, is not only about how well we have used gestures, it is also about how we have conveyed the message by standing still, right? So we need to understand the intentional and unintentional body language. Make sure that your gestures, your movements, your facial expressions are all natural. It should not look artificial. At times it happens that when we practice a lot, it looks dramatic, it looks artificial. It has happened with me, it has happened with a lot of other speakers. But when we practice, we must make sure that all the movements and the gestures, the hand movements, are timely and natural. What do you mean by timely? Timely means the moment you say that he was tall, your hand should go up at the same time. It should not be that you're saying he's tall and after 5 seconds you realize, oh my God, I did not show the correct gesture and you're raising your hand. No, it should be timely. The moment you utter the word, your hand should go up, or whatever gesture you're using, and it should be natural. Now, what are the elements of body language that you must take care of? And I would explain it in terms of stage speech and screen speech. Okay, I'll come to that. So there are 5 elements of body language we need to take care of when it comes to speech presentation. Number 1 is your posture, the way you stand on the stage or probably in front of the screen. Okay, you need to have a correct posture, which means you need to stand straight with your arms hanging on the sides. Okay, chin up. Now many of you may look at me and laugh. What is this girl saying? Why is posture so important? Who can tell me why is posture so important? Why do we need to have a correct posture when it comes to speaking? Anybody? Okay, it shows confidence, first impression. All right. How many of you practice yoga here? Affects the message delivered. Ravi, Toastmaster Ravi. Okay. Why do they stress on having a correct posture? And it is the same with speaking. Energy level. When you have a correct posture, it helps in breathing correctly. You can tell me if I'm wrong. It helps you in breathing correctly. If you breathe right in a right way, your voice will come out effectively. And there are two types of voices. Some people they speak from the throat, and some people they speak from the navel points, right? So in order to make that impact and in order to have that throw in your voice, you need to breathe properly. In order to breathe properly, you need to stand properly when you are on the stage to deliver a speech, to sing, to perform. Okay, so posture is very, very important. Next is your gestures, the way you move your hands, the way you move your shoulders, and the way you move your head. Make sure that you use gestures as per the content, matching the content and not otherwise. Then your facial expressions. We are on the screen, right? So we have to make sure that every word carries an emotion, and that emotion should be visible on our face, which means as per the emotions in the content, we must express it on our face. Fourth is our eye contact. Now here, when I'm talking to you, I'm looking at the camera. When I look into the camera, you will get a feel that I'm looking at you. Okay, but what will you do when you are standing there on the stage and the large audience and some people are sitting there, some there, and some at the center? What would you do? How would you maintain eye contact? And for that, remember this formula. Look at every direction, but maintain eye contact with few people in that direction. So what can you do? You can, for the beginners, okay, those who are seasoned and experienced speakers, they can manage, but for the beginners, you look at every direction. In each direction, you may select one or two people, okay, and every time when you look at that direction, make sure you maintain eye contact with that particular person. I'm telling you, I'm giving you all these tips, keeping in mind the judge's ballot. Okay. So this was all about the physical part. When it comes to voice, there are two things we need to take care of. One is our voice quality. Second is voice modulation. These are two different things, guys. Okay, don't get confused and don't mix it up. One is voice quality, the other is voice modulation. What is voice quality? Anybody can become a great speaker, irrespective of whether he has a strong voice or he has a thin voice. You can be a speaker if you have a quality voice. Quality voice depends on three things. Number one is the loudness, the volume. Okay, your voice should be loud enough to be heard by everybody sitting in that hall or in that area, in that room, or probably here on the screen. Loudness. Second is the clarity of your voice. Sometimes people have great voice, but they speak so fast or they speak so slow, and sometimes they mumble inside their mouth that we don't understand what they're saying. Okay, so there is an issue in clarity. So you need to have a clear voice, which means clear enough to be understood. Your each and every word that comes out of your mouth should be understood by the audience. And the third thing, which is very important in voice, is to have an expressive voice. So as per the emotions in your content, you need to bring that expressions in your voice. Wow! More than 50 people here, 60 people here on the screen. excitement. What? Only 68? Okay, sadness, upset, right? So you need to play with the voice by bringing in all the expressions in your voice. So that was all about voice quality. Make sure that you have that quality in your voice: loudness, clarity, expressiveness. Now comes voice modulation, and many people think that voice modulation is all about changing your voice as per the character, or talking like in a peculiar voice to make the the audience identify the character. No, voice modulation is not about changing your voice. Voice modulation is all about controlling your voice. And controlling your voice means, again, you need to focus on three things, and I call it 3P. P as in peanut, P's, 3P's. The first is your pitch, the high and the low you go. Okay, that is the pitch. So when it is excitement, high, oh, high. Okay, that the pitch should sound like a wave. Okay, how you go high and how you go low. The second thing is the pace, the speed in which you speak. Now, an average person, okay, when we are talking, not in speaking, when we are talking with our friends and all, the ideal speed, as they say, is 120 words per minute. An average person talks in that speed. But when it comes to speaking, you must maintain the speed of 90 to 100 words in a minute, which means not too slow, not too fast. Okay, 90 to 100 words in a minute. That should be your pace. And the third P is pause. And I love pauses. Okay, I love pauses. It is good to know where, how to speak. It is also good to know when to be silent. Pauses are very, very important in your speech. Now the question is, when and where should I pause? Most of the times we have this confusion. Okay, I have this speech, I have this story, but I don't know when to pause or where to pause. So I'll tell you today, the first pause should come before you speak or before you start your speech. And I call it 4S, okay? So what you have to do before you start your speech, remember 4S. Stand. The first S is stand. Okay, so just go there on the stage, stand. The second S is stare. So look around, look at your audience. The third S is smile. So when you look at your audience, look at them and smile. And then speak. The last S, speak. So you need to take a few seconds to go through this process or do these things. Okay, stand, stare, smile, speak. So that will relieve your tension, calm down, your nervousness, and then you will also get an opportunity to establish some connection or a bond with your audience. When you smile, somebody would look at you and smile back, right? So this is the first pause before you speak. The second pause should come soon after your introduction. Why? Because your audience should know that the introduction is now over and the speaker is now moving to the story or the main body of the speech. So the pause should come after the introduction. Now in the body of the speech, you must take a pause after a question. So if you have a question in between the story, if you're asking a question, please take a pause because your audience needs to understand the question and respond in their minds. Okay, so pause. You need to take a pause if you have a funny statement or a funny part in your story. Take a pause, let the audience understand the joke and laugh. Yeah, give them time to laugh. Pause if you have an important message or an important statement, because that is important, right? You want people to understand that you have said something important to them. So pause. Pause after dialogues. If you have two characters, people should know who is speaking when. And for that, you need to take a pause. The next pause should come before the conclusion, as I said, to make the audience understand the transition. Now, how long should the pause be? You might be wondering, okay, Nisha is saying that take pause, take pause, take pause, but how long this pause should be? There are two types of pauses, a small pause and a long pause, okay? A small pause should be between 4 to 5 seconds, and the long pause can be between 7 to 8, or depending on the statement, 8 to 10 seconds also. But how would you know that, I have to take pauses like this? Count in your mind. So when you pause, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you move on to the next sentence. Okay, so you need to count in your mind. So small pause can be between 4 to 5 seconds. Long pause can be 7 to 8, or depending on the statement, sometimes 8 to 10 seconds also. So this was all about presentation, how to present it better. Now the third part that carries 20 marks is language. Language. How many of you are Shashi Tharoor here? Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Linguistic experts. I will use all these big words and Silva, Toastmaster Silva. Thank you. Now I'll tell you a story. Once Dr. Shashi, and I hope all of you know Sudha Murthy. Sudha Murthy is an author. She was the CEO of Infosys, right? If I'm wrong, please correct me. I'm very bad at GK. So she is an author. She writes a lot of books for kids. So once Dr. Shashi Tharoor asked Sudha Murthy, "Ma'am, why do you write in such simple language? You are an educated lady. Why do you use such simple language?" Sudha Murthy said, "I write in simple language because I want my readers to understand what I have written. I don't want them to look for a dictionary when they read my books." As a speaker, it's our responsibility that our audience understands what we are saying. It is good if you use big words, but if your audience is not able to understand that word, the entire meaning of that sentence would change. So make sure when you write, the language should be simple. And what do I mean by simple language? Simple language means short words, short sentences, short paragraphs. Short words, short sentences, short paragraphs. Simple language. Simple yet beautiful language. How can I have simple and beautiful language at the same time? To make your language beautiful, you can use rhetorical devices. Ahaha, English grammar, rhetorical devices. Rhetorical devices are the words that are arranged in a way to make the sentence beautiful. And there are 4 rhetorical devices that you can use. Number 1 is simile. Simile. Simile is the word that we use to compare someone with something. Okay. And we use like or as in simile. So for example, if I say that Toastmaster Famim run as fast as Usain Bolt. So I'm comparing Toastmaster Famim's, I don't know if he runs or not, Famim's running with Usain Bolt's running. Okay, and I have used as fast as. It is a simile. The second rhetorical device that you can use to make your language beautiful is a metaphor. Now, metaphor is again just like simile. We use it to have a comparison, of someone with something else. But there we do not use like or as. We compare it. We do the comparison directly. So if I have to take the same example, I would say that Toastmaster Famim is the Usain Bolt of this area. Same thing, different ways of saying it. The third rhetorical device that you can use is triad. Triad is nothing but the group of 3 words. Okay, so when you say that it's my life, my future, my destiny, 3 words coming together. A set of 3 words coming together. Or if I say that Constitution is by the people, for the people, of the people, triad. All right. And the last rhetorical device is alliteration, the simplest one. Alliteration, where we repeat the first letter of each word. So when I say that, awesome Abdul Sattar, awesome Abdul, AA, many, many happy returns, so MM. Okay, these are all alliterations. So make sure when you write your story, you have these rhetorical devices that would make your language beautiful. And at the same time, it will make the language simple as well. Okay. The next thing that you need to take care when it comes to language is to pronounce the words correctly and to have correct grammar. So if you're talking about the past, make sure you use words like was, were, had. Okay, don't confuse it with present tense and future tense. Pronunciation. That is why it is advised that you use simple words so that your pronunciation is correct. Because if when you use complicated words, the pronunciation becomes complicated as well. Okay, you pronounce it wrong in a wrong way. So make sure you use simple words to pronounce the words correctly. So this was all about the judge's ballot, the speech criteria, how you need to write the speech, the stories, present it as per the judge's ballot and as per your content, and how to simplify and beautify your language to make an impact on your audience. So that was from my side, and I hope I met your expectations, and now you all are ready to write a rocking winning speech. And I would like to meet my competitor this year from District 105. Back to the Master of Ceremonies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, DTM Nisha, for this enlightening speech and all the experience you shared with us. I'm sure the audience have taken so many notes, as I did. And just to mention something from my side, rhetorical devices is something I just learned a year ago when I was teaching my son during the pandemic homeschooling. And I'm like, I regret all the days that I spoke English without knowing how to use those rhetorical devices. They're amazing tools that change the whole speech. So thank you so much. That was really amazing. Before we move to our next item on the agenda, can I please ask everyone to switch on your camera so we can have a beautiful group photo? And this will be a memorable picture that we will all share with other groups. So can we allocate 1 to 2 minutes to allow everyone to prepare their beautiful smiles? Bindu, drive safe, please, but give us a big smile. Is everyone ready? Shall we say 3, 2, 1? 3, 2, 1, cheese. Thank you so much. That was amazing. So now please allow me to invite our beautiful moderator, Toastmaster Pragnia, and our dearest DTM Toastmaster Nisha to the Q&A session. We will have 20 minutes allocated for this session. So please prepare your questions, and over to you, Toastmaster Pragnia.
Hi, am I audible? Yes. So this is a hybrid meeting. We have people sitting in the room and online. So I hope it's audible for everybody. Can somebody from the other side speak so we can hear you? Nasreen? Yes, okay. All right. So first of all, thank thank you so much, DTM Nisha. That was a brilliant, powerful session. We had so much to take away and during this last 45 minutes with you. So thank you for sharing your words of wisdom with us. Now, for the rest of the audience, if you have any questions, can you please put them in the chat box? And for those of you here, physically, if you have any questions, raise your hand as well. So the question is, please have relevant to DTM Nisha. The question, may I get the recording of the session? Yes, you will get the recording of the session. We'll make sure it's available on the Division B and Division I social media pages. Yes, any questions?
I have received, yeah. Okay.
DTM Nisha, can you hear me? Yeah, great. So Nisha, thanks a lot for this wonderful, elaborate way of helping us plan our international speech. My question is, you spoke about an introduction, a story, and then a conclusion. So let's assume if we time for 7 minutes and write around 700 words, what do you think should be the composition of your introduction, your story, and the conclusion, which is the take-home message? Ideally, obviously, many of us would like to press more on the story, but definitely there is a criteria for one to actually get that impact from an audience. So can you just give a little brief on the timing or probably the words which one can allocate for the introduction, the story, and then the conclusion?
You said 7-minute speech with 700 words, something that you said, right?
Yeah, that is what you said, right? If you are speaking.
No. Okay, let me tell you. No. See, your speed should be 90 to 100 words per minute. And I'll tell you, if it's a 7-minute speech, my mentor had said, write a 6-minute speech and deliver it in 7 minutes. Write a 6-minute speech and deliver it in 7 minutes, which means if you are giving a 7-minute speech, your word count should be somewhere between 550 to 600. Now, the introduction, and let me tell you, this is where the importance of non-verbal communication would come, okay? You can say a lot of things without saying anything. Now, for example, if your introduction is, let's say that you decide to do a role play in your introduction, okay? So somebody would, you are talking to your son, okay? That, did you do this on the wall? And your son would just look at you like this, saying nothing. Saying nothing, you're saving time and words here. Just look at you here. And then you would look at the audience and say, has it ever happened with you? Done, your introduction is done. See, this is where and how you can save some words and time just by using your facial expressions or your body language without saying anything. And that all depends on how well you write the speech. And that is why it is also said that, instead of narrating the entire thing, include dialogues, just one sentence dialogue. So rather than saying that she came to me, she said, she looked at me and she said all these things. No, she came to me and then one sentence dialogue. Done. So you are, automatically the words will be reduced. So make sure that in a 7-minute speech, the word count is somewhere between 550 to 600. Reduce the word count by adding dialogues and putting in your facial expressions and body language. You need to find areas where you can use gestures and expressions instead of words. So that is how you can reduce the word count. I hope
That makes
the
a lot of
answer
sense.
is,
Thank you so much.
yeah.
So I had one more question. So you were mentioning about making the story interesting. So we need to ask ourselves, is my story interesting enough? Right? So how do we then overcome our own obstacles where we say, I don't have any interesting stories to share? So if we come from that kind of a mindset, then how do we go about drafting a speech?
First of all, Toastmaster Pragya, right? That is how you pronounce it, Pragya. We all have stories. We all have stories. Even the day-to-day experience. Right now, I'm talking to you. Tomorrow, it will become a story. I can share this in my speech. Once I had a speech wherein I spoke about how my washing machine had a defect and we called this technician, and he said that, you need to replace it. Simple thing. Okay. And I said that, at times we have defects in relationships too. We can replace a machine, we cannot replace people in our lives. So somehow, if you think, you will find stories in every single moment. You go to office, on the way something happens, it is your experience, your story. So it is wrong to say that I don't have stories. Think about it. You need to take time. See, speech writing, especially for the contest, is a tough job. I have been doing it for so many years. You need to take time and think of all those incidents that have happened to you. Now, here, I would like to tell you, and even in Toastmasters International, when we used to have those old manuals, they have taught us how to find a topic, or how to find, let's say, coming back to story. So there are 4 ways of finding a topic, right? You can either talk about your passion, your hobby, your interest, the things you like. You can talk about the people in your life. So it can be your spouse, which everybody does in humorous speech contests. They talk about their spouse. So they're talking about the people in their life. Okay, so your spouse, your neighbor, your son, anybody. You can talk about your daily experiences. You get up, you go to the kitchen, something happens, it's an experience. The simplest thing and the most difficult part for a speaker, it can be the simplest thing to some people, it can be the most difficult to talk about your blunders, the mistakes that you have done. Because from those mistakes, you learned some lesson. Now you're sharing those lessons with the audience. So think like that. Think in these 4 ways. Okay, what should I be talking about? Should I talk about my husband and what is the lesson that I learned from him? Or should I talk about my experience at the traffic? Should I talk about some stupid mistake that I did during my school days? Okay, so when you will think, you will understand, you will get the lesson from that experience, and it can ultimately become the story or the topic for your speech.
So, moreover, how do we make that story more interesting? Like, how much masala can we add?
That is what I said in storytelling. Okay, see that you have a conflict. Okay, you are addressing a problem in the story. Then you give a solution, proper solution. Okay, because everybody wants to know. There would be people who would relate to your story, but they want to know the solution. Okay, so give them the solution, and also show them that when you applied the solution in your life, this is how your life changed. Okay, and along with that, have an interesting character. Okay, even if the character is not interesting, you can make it interesting by describing the character. Describe the character properly so that the audience should see the character on the stage. Okay, when you say that, this lady, she used to wear all those big flowered saris, bright colors with a huge ponytail and with a flower on the side. So they should be able to visualize the character. Add some dialogues. The dialogues can be funny dialogues. And rhetorical devices, make your language beautiful, use more of visual, auditory and kinesthetic emotional words, and your story will be interesting.
Thanks so much for that. Now we have a question in the chat box from Samir. So he's asking, what is a measure of true brevity while crafting our speech?
Sorry, I did not get that, Pragya. Could you please repeat it, Toastmaster Pragya?
What is a measure of true brevity while crafting our speech? Like, how much of it has to be true?
What is the measure of, sorry?
True brevity. BREVIT.
Okay, what is the measure of true brevity while crafting our speech? Okay, now again, as I answered someone else here, it all depends on, as I said, write a 7-minute speech and deliver it in 6-minute speech and deliver it in 7 minutes. It all depends on how you can say a lot more in less words. And most of the times, not most of the times, all the time, what people do, they spend a lot of time in using a lot of words, narrating and explaining things, which we don't have to do that. Okay, now in my last speech, in the introduction itself, I made it very clear to the audience that I'm jealous of this particular red bag and I did something that I should not be doing. So in the beginning itself, they understood that this girl has a problem, she is jealous. And now I don't have to explain that, my friend came with this bag. Oh, it was so beautiful. And I was so jealous. I wanted to do something. So when you start explaining things, that is when your speech becomes, long, or, so how to make it brief, you have to say a lot of things using less words. So what you can do is you can either add dialogues, or you can either add again expressions, or dialogues in one or two sentences. That's it. Stop narrating and explaining each and everything in the speech, because we don't have time, and the judges also, they don't have time. In a speech contest, there would be 10 to 12 contestants, and they have to listen to each one of them. So stop explaining and start narrating the stories using dialogues and expressions. Toastmaster Samir, is it okay?
Yeah. Toastmaster Samir, I hope you got the answer to your question. Thank you so much for that. One more question in the chat box by Hamid. So we refine our speech by delivering to different audiences.
Getting feedbacks to revise speech. Okay. Does delivering to many kill the novelty of the speech? No. See, we give the same speech from the club level up to district. I have not seen many contestants changing the speeches at all these levels. Well, I had done it once, and I failed miserably. So my suggestion is, it is good to deliver speeches, at different levels, or to going to different clubs and understanding what exactly the audience is looking for. Okay, they will give you feedback, you can work on it, but again, you need to know, okay, which feedback to use. Okay, you cannot use all the feedback. You need to discuss that with your mentor and understand which feedback is good, and where should I use, and what should I be taking from this particular person. Okay, so it is okay to deliver the speeches in front of many people and in different clubs. It's okay, it's fine. It will not kill the novelty of the speech, don't worry about that. And let me tell you, everybody presents speeches on the same topic. If you look at it, people will be talking about failures, rejection, love, relationship, family, same, but the stories would be different. So you need to have faith in your story. It will not kill the novelty of the speech. Don't worry about that.
I think Toastmaster Hamid got his answer. I see that he nodded. Awesome. We have another question. I think this is a generic question. What are the TM guidelines on sex, religion, and politics?
TM guidelines on sex, religion, and politics, as far as I have observed and I know, it is applicable to us, the people living in the Middle East, because when we cross the district level and when we go for the semi-finals and the finals, people use all kind of topics, and I have witnessed it this time. So if you are in the Middle East, and if you have decided to participate from the Middle East, make sure that you do not touch these topics. Okay, but as far as the TM guidelines, you can have topics related to, there were contestants who spoke on there was a contestant who was lesbian. She spoke about her relationship with her partner, and a lot of other things. Political topics were there. So TM guidelines as such will not restrict you when you will cross the district level and move on to the semi-finals and finals. But yes, for us it is a taboo. So make sure that we do not touch these topics.
As an example, I think last year Linda Marie did touch upon politics.
Yes. I had received a message, a personal message, okay, asking about the props, using props in speech. Now, the first question I would like to ask you is, do you really need to use a prop in your speech? That is what you need to make sure, because sometimes people, they just use props just because they want to use it. Okay, for example, somebody saying that I called him, and then he will use the phone, right? There's no need to use the phone. There's no need to use the PowerPoint if it does not make any sense. Why? Because you will waste a lot of time looking at the PowerPoint, then it is all technology, it will get stuck. It has happened before. So make sure that you don't use props uh, just for the sake of using it. Your prop must symbolize or must convey the message that you are giving. It should carry the message. Okay, so like Linda, Toastmaster Linda, when she used those placards, just because she didn't want to say those things, she used that to show it. So that was, it had some importance. Unless and until your prop has a significant role in your story, please don't use it. As I said, in your story, if there is a non-living characters, let's say a bag or a doll, a pen, pencil that has taught you something, yes, you can definitely use that prop. Other than that, if it has no value, no relevance, please avoid using props and the PowerPoint presentation slides.
Very well said. So we had one more question in the chat box. It says in the judges panel, there is suggested fault values based on the judges score, which is a positive that subject.
Is it subjective? It all depends. It all depends. See, judges are human beings, right? Okay, most of the time they go through the judges ballot and mark as per the objective, but sometimes the stories touch them. We can't do anything, and that is why I said we need to use these kind of words, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, the stories that would relate with everybody, even the judges. They should listen to your story and think that, oh, this has happened with me. Whether it is subjective, objective, it all depends on the judges also, but mainly or most of the time, or let's say that out of 100 marks, your 80% will be as per the judges ballot. 20% may be as per the judges, or the way they feel about the speech, but 80% would be the judges ballot.
So any more questions, please drop it in the chat box. Physical room, any questions, please raise your hands. We still have some time, so we'll be more than happy to get more wisdom from Nisha. She's spending her time with us here. Let's make full use of it. I don't see anybody asking questions, so that means everybody understood everything, or the other way around, but I do hope it's the first option.
Yeah.
Okay, so just one more question from my side then, Nisha. We're talking about adding rhetorical devices to our speeches, right? So I have been guilty of this in the past as well, and I've seen other people do it, where we write the speech in a Word document and literally right-click on words and go to thesaurus and keep renaming them or changing, a lot of the words. So where do we find the fine balance between adding these rhetorics and overdoing them?
Okay. You have to use it in a way that it should not look as if we are reading or as if we are listening to a story from from a book of literature. It should not sound like a poem. Okay, it should sound like a speech. Okay, so where can I use these rhetorical devices? When you describe something, when you describe a character, or when you describe, let's say, a place or a thing, that is the area when you can use these rhetorical devices. Okay, when you have to do some description, a character description or something else, when you have to describe your feelings, the kinesthetic side, when you have to describe your feelings, you can use rhetorical devices, but make sure that only you are using in your story, it's like 10%, 10% should be rhetorical devices. Otherwise it would sound like a poem. Okay, and it should not be like that. So when you are describing the characters, places, things, and your emotions, you can use rhetorical devices, especially the similes and metaphors.
Thank you so much. So with that, we come to the end of the question and answer session. So I'll graciously hand the screen back to our beautiful MC. And thank you so much, Nisha, for taking your time out and for enlightening us on so many things. Toastmaster Nasreen, back to you.
Thanks to all the audience who asked those enlightening questions, and thanks for our moderator and the speaker of the day. So now, please, I would like to invite our inspiring DTM Ajita Sivam, the Division B Director, to give a vote of thanks to end this wonderful evening. So over to you, DTM Ajita.
You're muted. I'm starting again. Just trying to grab the attention, just the message we received from our great trainer today. Thank you so much, everyone. And before I officially thank few people, I would like to thank one person. I was sleeping for a few months. Suddenly, she called and said, Ajita, what is your plan? It is supposed to be yesterday, but it didn't happen. She woke me up. It was none other than our distinguished Toastmaster, Rania. Thank you so much, Rania. Like the way she guided me for this workshop is mind-blowing, and she taught me from A to Z and forming a Shashi Tharoor long word. So thank you so much to distinguished Toastmaster Rania, and also introducing our wonderful trainer, distinguished Toastmaster Nisha, for today's event. And before I again thank our role players, I would like to thank the whole TLI team for being here for today's workshop. Distinguished Toastmaster Rania, distinguished Toastmaster Vinod Panikar, distinguished Toastmaster Samir, and distinguished Toastmaster Raja. Thank you so much for guiding and being here with us for today. Have for a smooth event. First, the host for this event are AD Toastmaster Ramasubramanian. Now, this I think you one of the things we are missing in virtual meeting. Loud round of applause. Sound effect. This is real members clapping for you all. Thank you so much. And Toastmaster Famiba, he made sure that our MC used all adjectives he suggested to introduce everyone for this. Thank you so much, Toastmaster. Sari, for the past 9 days during Navaratri. Now she brought that Navarasa into one day workshop. Thank you so much for our Sergeant at Arms Surya Prabha. She did this for the first time and she brought in the power pack opening. So thank you so much. She was practicing a lot. That was very well seen because when we had a dry run yesterday, she told, I'm going to practice. You did a very fantabulous job, Toastmaster Nashri. Assistant Division Lead Director, Program Quality. In a meticulous way. Thank you so much. And our timer, she's silent, but she was very colorful today. And being precise, thank you so much, Toastmaster Devi. Now you can show your face. Thank you so much. Yes, this was distinguished Toastmaster Qatar was sending me a reminder more than 100 times from today morning till now. Please don't forget, we have another 3 workshops lined up. So members, kindly make note of these dates. Tomorrow we have evaluation workshop and 24th humorous and 25th table topics. So please be there. And and make use of this is a joint event, joint workshop planned by Division B and I, and of course with the guidance from the TLI team. So I request everyone to be there for tomorrow with the same energy, with 68 plus 25 attendees we have today. We would like to see more people tomorrow. Just thank you so much, and over to our gorgeous MC Toastmasters.
Thank you very much. This is always the best part of any Toastmaster meeting is the certificate distribution, correct? So here we are, we reach the end of our beautiful and knowledgeable and enlightful meeting. So this is the last item of our agenda tonight. I would like to thank all the wonderful people who spoke and attended and asked questions and contributed to make this event a very joyful event. So thank you for taking time out of your busy personal and professional schedules. This means the world to us. DTM Nisha, you've been amazing. You taught us lots of good information. I have taken many notes, and as a new Toastmaster, I think speech contest is the next item on my agenda to practice and aim for. It's been an honor to be among such accomplished individuals, and thank you once again, and have a lovely good night. Bye-bye.